before 1991, business and profit was a bad word. If you made a profit, if you were a businessman, it was naturally assumed that you were corrupt, you were a smuggler, and you were an exploitative person.
Hello and welcome to another episode of Guru Gyan. My name is Sanjay Chakravarti. I'm the founder of Tagit. Today's guest is someone who started her professional journey in TAS, the Tata Administrative Services. She spent 13 years there before jumping into becoming a banker. She worked at the CXO level in various organizations, right from Axis, ING, Bearing to Yes Bank, before finally coming back into the Tata family as the CEO of Tata Capital. She didn't stop there. She is now runs or is the founder of Family and Businesses magazine and the chief editor as well, which goes to more than 2 million people. And she is an independent director in various companies, Whirlpool, Transcorp, few of the Mahindra Group companies, Max Group companies, PNB, MetLife. There's a huge list there. But what's significant and the reason that we want to get her time today is her book, The Inheritors, which is about her pet subject, family and businesses. Inheritors itself, the foreword is given by Anand Mahendra, and Sonu Bhasin, who is here right now, is one of the 100 leading voices in the family and businesses arena. Sonu, it's a pleasure having you here. Thank you so much for accepting the invite.
Thank you, Sanjay. And thank you for this great lead-in to the conversation. And always a pleasure to speak with you. So I am delighted to be here and talking to you.
Sonu, we have not been able to catch up, and I know that something that I also wanted to specifically put through is that the time that you have given me personally, and I know the time that you spend with so many of my friends who are entrepreneurs in guiding them in just doing anything and everything to help these businesses is something that we all of us are very thankful to you about.
No, so Sanjay, that's very kind of you to say that. But when we talk of giving back to society, there are different people who do it in different ways. So there are some people who work with, say, the underprivileged children. They go out and teach them. There are some that work on, sustainable livelihood for women in tribal areas. There are some various others who do various things. So when I looked at all that society, the world, and God at large had given me, and I wanted to give back, I wanted to give back in a way that I A, enjoyed it, and B, where I would seriously be able to add value. And therefore, when I see youngsters like you and many of your friends who are so full of enthusiasm, who have great ideas, but they're still building these organizations which going forward will be great organizations. I thought that if I spend time with them whenever they need it without imposing myself on them, that would be the best way of giving back without expecting anything in return. Because when you say you want to give back, you do it selflessly. So my selfless act, and also to give back some bit of whatever I have received through the generosity of many, many other people and generosity of the world at large. So this is my own way of giving back. When you talk of corporate social responsibility, this is my personal social responsibility in an area which I do believe can do with a lot of inputs from many, many more people like myself.
I just hope
so. You guys are helping me achieve my personal social responsibility targets. So thank you for that.
Let me jump into the discussions for the day. How is a family business different from say a regular professionally run business?
If you look at it at a larger level, there is no difference. A business is a business is a business. Now, whether there is, the only difference is in the ownership, because that is where that first difference is, that a professionally a professional business, what we say as a professional business, there are many, many owners, and there is not one owner who holds precedence over the others. In a family owned business, there are these identified set of owners. Now, a lot of family owned businesses also are run professionally, where the owners are not involved in the day to day management, where they are more as guides and long term strategy planners. Dabur is an example that comes to my mind, and also because Dabur Amit Burman is part of my book, The Inheritors,
Right.
where the owners are that owners, they are not managers.
Right.
Then you have businesses where the owners are also managers, where they are involved in day-to-day working of the organization. So there are so they may not have professional CEOs, professional MDs, and talent from outside. They are involved in day-to-day working. So the basic difference is in the ownership, who owns the large part of the business. When it comes to the business per se, I think there's a huge amount of research that has been done about the similarities or the differences between a professional company and a family owned and family run company. But there are outliers, there are exceptions for every point that you bring up. Essentially, if I look at a business, it doesn't matter to me whether it's professional ownership or, you don't have an owner, identified owner, or you have an identified owner. A business has to be well run. It has to be managed well. The corporate governance has to be in place. And most importantly, the people who are running the businesses need to understand that they have a larger responsibility towards A, society, B, towards the people who are part of the organization, the employees, and C, their customers.
Maybe even 15 years back, 20 years back, now just looking at the Indian context, there would be most of the times the owners were the managers. So do you think that it's changing now? You pretty much have, in most cases, you will have the owner different from the manager?
So I cannot answer your question before going into the past and setting a context. So before 1991, business and profit was a bad word. If you made a profit, if you were a businessman, it was naturally assumed that you were corrupt, you were a smuggler, and you were an exploitative person, and that you led a decadent lifestyle, and that basically you were a no good fellow. And so there was this whole social stigma around being part of a business. And I remember when I was a kid in the 60s and 70s, if you said that वो तो businessman है, तो it was almost like a gali. अरे वो तो businessman है, मतलब उसके तो कोई morals ही नहीं है. So actually, why would anybody want to join a businessman? Why would any talented person want to be part of an organization which carries a social stigma? So even if the businessman wanted to attract talent, it was not very easy at all. There were people who were still part of the businessmen, the organizations, but I wouldn't know why they joined, but I'm glad that they joined when they did before liberalization, because they are the ones who actually helped the businesses to grow. Also, in the absence of any talent, and also not too many job opportunities or other opportunities being present, and the fact that most well-to-do people had many children, not like one or two, which happens now. It was automatic or normal for the children, the sons, to join the family business, whether it was a shop, whether it was a large business. And therefore, the reliance on others was not so much, A, because of lack of supply, and B, because the children had to do something. Now, after 1991, the scenario started changing. Profit and business no longer was a bad word. Also, what had happened was that there were people who they were big, education gained importance, and most patriarchs sent their children overseas, especially the sons overseas or to the best institutes in India to for their education. When these people came back, they came back with a different worldview, right? So it was natural for them to be more open to having talent. Also, because of liberalization, the opportunities to do business both domestically and internationally opened up. Add to that the fact that the families started growing smaller, or add to the fact that profit wasn't a bad word, and therefore talent wasn't inimical to joining business. You put all of these together, so there were people who were available. There were people who then joined the family businesses. So then actually the choice became that of the patriarch, whether he wanted to be an owner manager, or he wanted to be an owner, and he want talent from outside to come and help him grow the business, right? So it was a process that started in the mid 90s, is continuing now. There were some early enlightened people who saw the benefit of getting talent from outside to help them grow their businesses. You named Harsh Mariwala, I named the Burman family. There were others. Now I foresee this to be becoming more prevalent than it was. Will it become 100%? Never. Right. But the possibility of talent being present in family owned businesses is going to increase.
Wow, fascinating. I never really put those blocks together, right? Do the inheritors operate differently vis-a-vis the rest of the startup folks that you kind of deal with day in, day out?
Yeah, so I can't paint all the inheritors with the same brush. And we did a white paper, I think a couple of years ago, where we did research on millennial inheritors of family-owned businesses, and to use a classification from that. When I say I can't paint them with the same brush, so there are 4 different types of inheritors that we were able to classify. One, and forgive me if I don't remember their names, the classification absolutely bang on, but the first were the consolidators, the inheritors who joined the core business and then grew it and are growing it. 2 are the diversifiers, that they join the core business, but they diversify it into an area which is a little different. It could be in products, it could be in customer segments, it could be in geographical areas. 3rd are the innovators, where they do not do anything in the core business, but do completely different. And the 4th are the unwilling inheritors, who do not want to do anything with the core business, right? Now, so I will talk about the inheritors who do want to work, whether as consolidators, diversifiers, or innovators. And the unwilling, I'm not saying that they're all, rais baap ke bigde bache. They may not have an interest in the business, but they may be super achievers in an area which is completely different. They could be creative directors, they could be authors, they could be film directors, whatever.
Absolutely.
But
absolutely.
I'm talking of the inheritors who do want to work in the business and who do want to to grow it. The inheritors who have a fire in their belly. Now, if the inheritor has a fire in the belly, there is no difference between that inheritor and a young person who is setting up a startup or who is working for startup, which is a much smaller company, and the startup guy may or may not have any business background, because ultimately what it boils down to is the attitude. So we do, so say, someone, since you and I do know Prasoon, now if I look at Prasoon and I look at somebody who's as successful as, say, Kuldeep Dhingra of Berger Paints, I do not find a difference in their attitude at all. I mean, Kuldeep Singh Dhingra may be 70 plus years old, and Prasoon is maybe late 20s, early 30s, I don't know, but he's like half his age or even less than half his age. But when it comes to attitude and the fire in the belly, there is no difference. So I don't think that it is the family that determines who you are. It is your own attitude that determines who you are. And if an inheritor takes his or her place in the family and the business for granted, uh, that person ain't going anywhere. But if there are inheritors who not only take on what has been given to them, but they do want to continuously make it better, continuously want to make it grow, there is absolutely no difference between them. So in terms of attitude, but yeah, when it comes to access to money, when it comes to network, when it comes to access to, say, senior people in terms of, a superior kind of a network, there is a difference. And the only analogy I can give that is that of Bollywood. Bollywood keeps getting accused of nepotism. But at the end of the day, each actor has to prove himself or herself. The actor or the actress has to prove himself or herself. Anyone who takes their place for granted will not succeed in Bollywood. But yes, a person who's from the fraternity has easy access to a lot of people, has easy access to a lot of projects. But is it that it's only the fraternity people who are successful? No. The non-fraternity people may have to work harder, but they are still making a mark. So at the end of the day, it just boils down to who the individual is. At the end of the day, it's your individual attitude, which comes from the messaging that has been given by the patriarch and the family through the growing up years. So if the patriarch has been messaging the children to say, don't worry, tumhe kuch kaam karne ki zarurat nahi hai, I have it, you have all the money, don't worry. Why will that child, when he's an adult, have that fire in the belly? But if the messaging right from childhood is that all this is, yes, it's been created, but it's for you to take it forward, it's yours, get involved with it, even as a child, the inheritors turn out different. And the number of people that I have interacted with and worked with, I have all these inheritors who are successful have been involved in the family business right from the time that they were a child. And involved in meaning, they used to spend their weekends in the office. They used to be taken to the factories as a child. In their summer holidays, they would spend time in either the factory or the office. So there was that emotional connect. There was that bit that, this is mine. And the messaging from it, from as far as they could remember, was that, son, this is something that you have to come and work with. So the grounding of the child, or the messaging to the child from early days, is that this is something that I want to do. And as part of a white paper, we spoke to over 100 millennial inheritors, and there were enough number of inheritors who, after their engineering or MBA from top universities around the world, did go out and spend time working with the professional companies. But they all came back because the pull of the business was there with them, and at some stage, and that was there because of the messaging from their childhood. And they all became, and the interesting thing is that they all came back and became consolidators of the business. So they became part of the core business, and it's that core business that they're growing bigger.
Got it. So, Sonu, I actually picked up from one of your presentations that only 3% of the family businesses survive beyond the fourth generation.
Yeah.
And I was wondering, because the same actually on a professionally managed firm also, there's this whole thing about that, your Fortune 500 keeps changing every 30 years. So like Exxon Mobil, which was like the number one company and by a huge margin when I started my work life. Today, I don't know what the number is, but I'm sure it is, way behind, and it will keep dipping behind and disappear at some point of time. So, do you see that changing? What is the essence of that? Is it like a natural progression of any business, has nothing to do with family businesses, or is there something more to it?
So so for family businesses, they say shirt sleeves to shirt sleeves in, 3 generations. Yeah, Haveli ki umar 60 saal, which means that, after 60 years, everything changes.
Right.
I will be able to speak more about the family businesses because, I've spent more time in understanding the reasons why they fail.
Mhm.
Professional companies also, I am aware of the data,
Mhm.
but I haven't delved into that part deeply, so I may not be able to comment on
Sure,
that.
sure.
But in the families, it is absolutely clear that all the research that has been going on, not for the last 5 years, 10 years, but for uh, 50 years, 60 years, because there's been a lot of research that's been done outside India. In India, it's just starting.
Mhm.
Uh, this data has, prevailed over all the studies that have been done, that 70% of all family businesses last only 1 generation. And
Wow.
the reason is nothing to do with the business, nothing to do with the products, with the IT strategy that they follow, the branding that they
Mhm.
do. It's got to do with the family. So the way that I look at it is that every business has a business strategy, whether you are a professional business or you are a family business. If I wake up any patriarch in the middle of the night and say, "Aapki 5 saal ki strategy kya hai?" He will rattle it out. But
Right.
the same patriarch, if I ask him any time during the day, what is your family strategy? He would have no clue. Because they don't think of the fact that they're not aware of the fact that they need a family strategy,
Mhm.
just like they need a business strategy. So a
Right.
family strategy would take into account who works in the business, or what is the role of the family in the business.
Mhm.
Is it just as a share? Is it just as an owner? Is it an owner and a manager? If it is also a manager, who all should work in the business? What
Mhm.
happens to people who don't work in the business? They're still, shareholders. How are
Mhm.
they compensated?
Mhm.
How, and just like you say that in a business strategy, this is where we are, and this
Right.
is where we will be 20 years later. In the family also, you need to do the same thing. These are the number of people we have in the family today. Who knows how many number of people we will be 10 years from today, 15 years from today. What should be the strategy for family members who are also shareholders? So because of the lack of a family strategy, the fighting starts.
Right.
And then it just leads to the business breaking down. And
Right.
personally, I just find it extremely sad that um, a business which is the livelihood for many people, and the livelihood of these people gets impacted because of a fight between two brothers.
Right.
Livelihood of these people gets impacted because father and son don't see eye to eye.
Right.
So, in my opinion, I think the family business owners need to see themselves with a larger responsibility than just running the business and getting some money out of it, and creating wealth, family wealth. They need to look at stewardship, because they are actually responsible for many, many livelihoods, and therefore they need to ring fence the business from whatever happens in the family. So going forward, till the business owners actually get clarity on what their family strategy is, uh, this cycle will continue to repeat, because at the end of the day, the business owners are people,
Right.
and people don't change. So, and
Right.
you can't learn by reading about history, you have to go through it.
Yeah.
So unfortunately, I think we caught in a circle.
Concluding, I just wanted to have a broad idea from you. Is there those 4-5 points wherein you feel that a family business is different in terms of the mindset than a regular business? And the reason I asked, and two things that I picked up when I was generally reading up some of the things that you've said. One was that family businesses do a better job at retaining talent, and I thought that that was very contrary to what would be my impression of the thing. The second thing was that a family business is, because it's long term, the mindset typically is long term. The ability to manage slumps is better than otherwise. So just wanted your thoughts on these two and any other specific things you feel from a mindset perspective. A family business is different.
Yeah. So I think let me start with something which is counterintuitive, which is that family businesses are able to retain talent better. Uh, and the reason for this is, you have worked in a professional organization. I have worked in many professional organizations. Uh, and you're then aware of, besides the work that any employee does, he or she has to invest in institutional loyalty
Yeah.
and personal loyalty. So the personal loyalty is towards the boss, and the institutional loyalty is towards whichever institution that we are working for.
Right.
In a professional organization, the institutional loyalty is different from the personal loyalty. But in a family business, the institutional loyalty and the personal loyalty merge into one. So if you invest in the loyalty to the institution, you are in fact investing in loyalty to the patriarch, right?
Interesting.
And
Right.
in a professional organization, if you're investing in loyalty to the organization, you're investing your loyalty into, let's say, you are at a senior level, you are investing your loyalty into the head of the organization, which could be a chairman, which could be a managing director. Now, in a family business, the patriarch ain't going to change, right? So therefore, the investment in your loyalty actually pays you over the long term.
Right. Right.
In a professional company, the head of the organization changes. I mean,
Right.
not there permanently, and therefore, and when that happens, the personal loyalty actually becomes a liability for the employee, and therefore, you see any professional organization, whenever there is a change at the top management changes in a couple
True
of years.
that. Right.
Completely changes, because the personal loyalty is seen as a negative by the incoming head of the organization. In a family owned business, loyalty actually pays, because the patriarch, and even if the patriarch gives up control, or there is a change, it transitions into the inheritor taking over, the family loyalists stay on.
Got it.
The children have grown up seeing them, so they are familiar. And even if they want to bring in other people, the family loyalists are never gotten rid of. They are sidelined, they're given a retainership, but they're never asked to leave, unless, of course, they've done something unethical.
Yeah. Yeah.
So therefore, the family businesses are able to retain talent better, because the individual finds it more worth his or her while to invest in loyalty. In professional organizations, you never know.
Right.
Loyalty abhi pay karegi, nahi karegi, whatever. So, each one for himself. So that is one, how, family businesses are different. And also, you're absolutely right that and there is data to prove it, studies have been done, that during downturns, family businesses do not get rid of people as fast as the professional organizations do. And my own analysis of that is that the professional CEO or in a professional company, his compensation is determined by the last quarter, how good or bad the last quarter was. And if business has gone down, then costs have to be cut, and therefore, you get rid of people and you reduce your people's cost. But in a family business, even if it is a listed company, the patriarch understands the long-term vision or the long term. So the patriarch's vision is always long term, and therefore they are able to sustain these short-term shocks, right? So, there are actually, a lot of differences, a lot of similarities between family-owned businesses and professional businesses. But at the end of the day, I think everything is determined by the person at the top, whether it's a patriarch, whether it's a professional CEO. So everything then flows down from there. The in a family business, the values of the patriarch don't change, and therefore the values of the organization are more permanent. In a professional company, as and when a CEO changes, the values of the organizations change, and therefore the culture of the organization changes. And therefore it's a process where like they say, it's always in a state of flux.
Right.
5 years, every 10 years. But in a family business, if you're comfortable working in that environment, then you can be sure that that environment ain't going to change.
Right.
Because the values of the family don't change. The values are passed down from the patriarch to the inheritor, and even then further down in the generations.
Got it. Now, thanks so much, Sonu. This has been absolutely enlightening in terms of several of the points. My biggest takeaway was that whole realization on business before and how business was seen pre 1991. I don't think I kind of used to think business at that point of time to really know that aspect, but that's really love that point and all the other points that were made. Thank you so much for your time. To everyone who's watching, again, I've showed this book to you, Inheritors. There are 9 businesses covered, and it's not about just the people who've been extremely successful. So you have the likes of Harsh Mariwala or Berger Payne's story has been covered. But at the end of the day, Sonu has done a wonderful job of also looking at the next gen, who are actually right now setting up businesses. So whether it's Kevinters or whether even the entire Antara business that's being set up right now, it's in the initial stages overall in terms of their growth prospects. So it's a must-read book for every entrepreneur to give you a perspective. I'll tell you one of the points I picked up from the Berger Paint example, that how he kind of built up the entire distribution chain, and how he would give the credit and manage the entire cycle. And I was thinking back saying that, that's something that we could do in our business as well. So there are many such nuggets there, which I'm sure you will find something or the other that really sticks in relation to your business and would be of great help to you. Sonu, always a pleasure talking to you. And I hope, we get to do this more often. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Sanjay. And I loved talking to you. And I'm hoping that one day we will be able to meet in person and have the same conversation sitting across a table and maybe with some nice glasses.
Absolutely.